Thank you, Scott and Stephanie, for those fine words. It's another amazing autumn day out there. Do you remember what we were doing on this day last year? On October the 3rd last year. This was debate day. And this room bore no resemblance whatever to how it looks right now. It was an amazing, amazing time for the university 1 year ago today. And I think virtually all of us will remember it for the rest of our lives. But that too was a great autumn day. And as you remember, we had this incredible cold front that came in that evening. Fortunately, it held off long enough. But it's remarkable. That's supposed to happen tonight again. So I guess nature is actually predictable in some regard. It is a beautiful time this fall, and you may have noticed, I certainly have noticed, that the campus and the students seem to have an unusual level of energy and optimism to them, even more than is normal at this time of the year. But it is a very particular year for us. This, after all, is our 150th year, our sesquicentennial at DU. It's important that we celebrate that milestone, and there will be lots of celebrations in the coming months. It's also time, though, to take stock, to look back and see the long road behind us, the way we got to be the DU that we are today. Moreover, it's time to look forward toward the challenges and opportunities that await us, toward the DU that we can become. There is certainly a great deal to be proud of. I came to DU to join the faculty of our chemistry department back in 1981, 32 years ago now, when we were a very different institution and a very different place. We've come so far since then, and I think often about the sacrifices and commitments made along the way by so many among us. I think about our unwavering belief in a bright future, even in the dark times. I think about the consistency of our approach for more than 25 years now, a consistent investment of energy and talent and resources in the absolute quality of the education that we provide to our students. Really, I think it is that steady focus on quality over more than a quarter century now that has produced the DU of today. And that institution, today's DU, is a very, very special one indeed. Let's step back just a bit and think about where we are. The quality of our academic enterprise and the depth of our intellectual culture are greater than at any time in the last 150 years. We have fantastic students at both the undergraduate and graduate levels. They are more able, more engaged, more diverse in many dimensions than ever before. 2/3 come from places other than Colorado, and more than 12% from places other than the United States. They've come to DU because of that commitment to quality, because the education that they find here, the distinctive DU experience, is transformative. Our faculty members are an enormous part of that experience. And over the years, we've assembled a truly remarkable group of scholars and teachers at our university. The faculty has grown a lot since those days back in 1981, and now we have 777 appointed full-time faculty members and nearly 600 part-time faculty members for a student-to-faculty ratio of 11-to-1 over all our units, undergraduate and graduate. We have a very talented and deeply committed staff as well, many of whom have been here much longer than have I. They, too, are a fundamental part of the excellence of the university. We are committed to the notion of residential education in the strong belief that community can be transformative, that the depth of our intellectual culture is defined by community and by place. Over the past 20 years, we've invested more than $500 million in our campus home, and what a glorious result. Today, ours is surely one of the most beautiful campuses in America. We continued on that path last year with the completion of the Anderson Academic Commons, a wonderful building at the heart of the campus that provides, at long last, a common focal point for our intellectual and social cultures. We're working hard on a major renovation of the Marjorie Reed Building, the home of the undergraduate programs in the Daniels College of Business. In February, we will break ground on a new 130,000 square foot building for the Ritchie School of Engineering and Computer Science, thanks to a wonderful lead gift from my predecessor, Chancellor Emeritus Dan Ritchie, who's with us today. The top floor of that building will provide lab space for 10 new research groups in the Noble Center for the Study of Aging. Also, later this year, likely in the late spring or early summer, we will break ground for a major new facility for the Joseph Corbell School of International Studies, thanks to a fantastic gift from Anna and John C. We've made great strides financially as well, and have at last achieved a measure of stability after so many ups and downs through those 150 years past. I'm pleased to say that last year was our 24th consecutive year in the black. This was accomplished in spite of enrollment shortfalls last year among both undergraduate and graduate students. And the good year-end result provides strong testimony to the flexibility and determination of the institution. You may remember that the undergraduate shortfall last year was caused by a confluence of factors, perhaps the most significant of which was that we had a smaller number than anticipated of seniors. This arose for a good reason, and that is because so many of our students are now finishing early. Nearly 90% of our graduates now do so in 4 years or less, and or less is becoming much more of a factor. So this year, we set out to recruit a substantially larger number of first-year students in order to respond to that more rapid throughput, such that the total number of undergraduates remains at its normal level, just over 5,000. Pleased to report, as you've heard from Scott, that our current undergraduate enrollments are well over budget, and that we are up in both new and in continuing students. At the graduate level, some units are up relative to budget, and some are down. All in all, though, we are over budget and back on track. I'd like to congratulate Tom Willoughby and all of his colleagues in our Office of Enrollment Management for their hard work in producing this tremendous result. In spite of the recession, we've also been making good progress on our endowment. And at last look, it stands at $411 million, with an additional $25 million in pledges, to be compared with operating expenditures anticipated to be $372 million this year. In 2005, when I became Chancellor, the endowment stood at $194 million. And so it has more than doubled since that time, in spite of the terrible economic headwind in the years of the recession. Much of this progress is associated with the Ascend campaign that we began in fiscal year 2007 and will complete this year, our sesquicentennial. Last fiscal year, we raised more than $69 million in gifts and commitments, our third best year ever. Ascend now stands at $436 million and counting, some of it supporting those buildings I mentioned, but more, much more, supporting students and faculty members and academic programs. It's interesting to note that when I spoke with you at Convocation last year, a little later in October because of the debate, Ascend was at $346 million. And so we raised $90 million in the last 12 months. We've still got 9 months until the end of the campaign in June. We have great momentum, and I'm hopeful for a terrific result. I am particularly grateful to Scott Lumpkin and the staff of University Advancement, and to all of our advancement staff in the units for this great performance. Let's drive it home this year. This is all good news, and we should be proud. Perhaps the best news, though, is that we've built such a solid platform, a foundation based on quality, from which we can address the many great changes that lie ahead, and those changes are coming. What shape is the future likely to take? We read so much these days about the fundamental intractability of the operating model for higher education in America, about soaring student debt, about disruptive change based on technology, about MOOCs and fully online degree programs, and the rise of the for-profit sector. There is a bit of hand-wringing going on out there in academia, and some folks seem to be holding up a sign that says, "The end is near." While all of this is interesting and those changes will surely come, I am a bit skeptical about the doomsday prophecies. To help sort this out, we've established the DU Strategic Issues panel that Scott Luteniger mentioned. And the panel is looking at the forces that shape the future of higher education, and most particularly how those forces are likely to affect us. The panel was assembled by me and by Trig Mirren, the chair of our board. And it is organized as a part of our Strategic Issues program under the chairmanship of Jim Grismer. It should finish its work around the end of the calendar year. It's important to understand that the Strategic Futures panel will not be prescribing a particular future or making a strategic plan. Rather, it is charged with coming forward with a framework for constructive change, a kind of guide from which truly representative strategic planning can proceed. So I'm not a member of the panel, just one of its conveners, and so I can't speak at the meetings, and there's a fair bit of frustration associated with that. I do have my own opinions about the future, though, and I'm not shy about sharing them. So here are some of the things that I believe are going to shape our future in the years just ahead. Value will be the driver, and value is defined by both affordability and outcomes. We will have to work hard to continue to be affordable for a broad national and international audience, and we must raise much more money to support need-based financial aid in order to do so. We're going to have to be more explicit about outcomes, measure them, and explain them with great clarity. I believe that the tipping point will be reached first in graduate professional programs because that is where the student debt loads are highest and return on investment is both critical and well-defined. We've seen this already in legal education, where the national pool of applicants is only about half what it was just a few years ago. Fortunately, our Sturm College of Law began a determined strategy of shrinking its student population while simultaneously investing in quality 5 years ago. And today it's in good shape. It continues to recruit great students who ultimately pass the bar at first-time rates exceeding 90%. It's added financial aid to drive quality and preserve diversity, and it's focused its resources and faculty on key academic areas where it can be among the best in the nation. Its rankings have gone up, and it is a clear leader in the broad national effort to reform legal education. Dean Marty Katz and his colleagues have done a truly wonderful job. Smaller, higher quality, more focused embracing of change. That may well be a template for graduate professional education in general in the years ahead. Commoditization will drive down the market cost of the initial parts of our undergraduate programs and some graduate programs. We already see this in the number of AP, IB, and co-op credits that our new undergraduate students are bringing with them, and in all of those seniors who are graduating early. When this really ramps up, few students of the caliber we are admitting to DU will be willing to pay full cost for intro courses and the like, and they shouldn't be asked to do so. The locus of our value proposition for undergraduates will have to shift in response to focus on the latter part of the undergraduate curriculum and on our graduate professional programs. We know that for our undergraduate students, graduate degrees are already the credential of choice, and we are fortunate to have an array of high-quality graduate programs to which they might continue on. We are already working to expand the bandwidth of our bachelor's, master's, dual degree programs in response to this shift. We already know that diversity and inclusion are an important part of our academic culture, really a prerequisite for the kind of intellectual depth that we want to develop on campus. In the years ahead, they will also be central to our continuing ability to recruit high-capability students. We must continue to recognize that investments in diversity and inclusion are ultimately investments in quality, and that if we are to recruit quality students to our university, we simply must be a place that is welcoming to many different kinds of people from many different backgrounds, and a place that celebrates their differences. The changes to come will put additional stress on traditional governance mechanisms in higher education. And I do believe that the notion of shared governance will come under duress as being insufficiently agile or focused to deal with major change. I also believe, though, that it is something that we simply must preserve if universities are to stay connected to their real values, the values that created the quality that we enjoy today. It would be a tragedy if shared governance were to erode in the face of external pressures. We are an academic and intellectual community, and faculty and staff simply must have a voice in setting our directions if we expect quality to continue to improve. In the years ahead, the university will need its faculty senate and staff council to step up, to take a much more active role, and to help guide us through the labyrinth of change. Finally, the fundamental nature of faculty work will be pushed to change as universities move to generate greater productivity. The teacher-scholar model that Scott mentioned has served us well for all of these years, but I think it will be stressed, and pressure is rising for a kind of bifurcation among the faculty, separating those who teach from those who do research. This is an unfortunate but very real trend, and unless we act to mitigate them, it can have negative consequences for our students, for whom direct access to the minds of competitive scholars is a part of the value proposition, and for our own sense of community. Here again, we need leadership from our faculty and staff to step up and work with the administration to shape these deeply cultural changes in positive ways. And so, after 150 years, we find ourselves at a turning point, and this is a good thing. It is not a time for hand-wringing or trepidation or fear that the sky is falling. Neither is it a time for digging in and holding the line. Rather, it's a time to be proud of all that we've accomplished together, a time to be forward-looking, open-minded, and embracing of the changes that are afoot. The truth is that right now is a great time for us, a time of extraordinary opportunity, precisely because of all that has been accomplished, because of the strong platform based on quality that we've built together. It's a time for optimism and energy and ideas and a fair bit of courage. And if you think about it, those are precisely the traits that we've developed over the past 150 years, deeply embedded in our institutional culture, the traits that we celebrate this year of our sesquicentennial. The future is ours to seize. Thank you.